Part 102. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 1050. Turned white. It has turned gray and black again. No, it has turned white again. Chao Meng discovered a very interesting thing. When Gengar was training by himself before, it didn't notice much. Now, this ghost can actually turn white? As for the elves in the current elf world, Chao Meng had a lot of elf information poured into his brain when he created it. But when he first came into contact with elves like Gengar, he never thought that Gengar would turn into weird things. White. Now I know. Still saw it with my own eyes. In fact, to be more accurate, it was typed by himself. Training and confrontation will inevitably lead to beatings and injuries. However, this change of color gave Chao Meng a better understanding of the strangeness of elves in the elf world. A group of high-speed rotating black spheres condensed in Gengar's hands. The sphere was filled with explosive energy, and while dribbling the ball quickly, it spun and attacked in the direction of Mewtwo. The body gradually changes to white, which means that the explosive point of Gengui's full power is coming. This unforgettable pain makes Gengui's desire for power even deeper. As everyone knows, the confrontation between Gengar and Mewtwo's moves has deviated from the original floating island and turned to the high altitude of the reverse world. Electric Beam. Electric Shock. The area around Area 7 of the floating island where Gengui is located has accepted many ultimate beasts from the ultimate space, including a tribe of electric beam trees. The shadow ball spinning at high speed in the air was like an unknown instruction, which made these electric beam trees seem to have received this instruction. Then, golden electric balls emitting golden light appeared from their hands. This is high-speed dribbling. Brother, what happened on the island over there? There seems to be an elf waving a fluorescent cheering stick. Yang Xiao, who hugged the big beauty's back tightly, raised his head and kept observing the things in front of him, expecting Gengui to appear in front of him. This is an anxious and joyful journey of search. During this flight, Yang Xiao unknowingly felt that he had discovered a lot of the meaning of being a trainer when he thought of being able to find Gengar again. Minas beside Kui Long was flying, telling Yang Xiao and Gardevoir what she knew about what happened to Gengar in the reverse world. Yang Xiao and Gardevoir were very engaged in listening. At this moment, Mina slowed down his flying speed, and Kui Long and Yang Yu's group also gradually slowed down. Wait, we're here. Yang Xiao's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Sa Nai. Gardevoir looked left and right, trying to find the figure of the fat purple man who had longed for him. The darkness in the sky obscured a lot of his sight. But when Gardevoir's body began to emit a looming ghostly light, the throbbing of his soul seemed to affect his increasingly fiery heart. Kunkin. With the help of Dudu's superpower, Yang Yu could see clearly the elves in front of him who were constantly moving the golden spheres, and he couldn't help but muttered. Without the help of Dudu, from a distance, Dion Beam looks like a group of stick figures glowing and generating electricity. After having the superpower's far-sighted effect, Dion Beam looks like Kunkin. Roar. The salted fish king looked at those golden flashes in his eyes, and the suppressed desire in his heart to be bombarded with powerful voltage was aroused in an instant. However, he was very surprised to hear something familiar. Kunkin, what kind of elf is that? Darkrai was confused. Cai Su. Yang Yu subconsciously said a spicy name. At this moment, the salty fish king's eyes seemed to grasp the few and even vague memories in his memory. Can sing, can splash in water, can knock, click, click. So this is the legendary elf Cai Sukin? In the picture shown by Dai Dai, the high-speed dribbling movements of these electric beam wooden balls are like the feeling of playing Diablo. The object is in the hand and the object is in the heart. Combining the electric ball with itself like a human ball, whether it is rotating on the fingertips or reversing the ball under the crotch, in terms of movement and speed, it is a master among masters. Roar. The salted fish king was excited. He had heard the name of an elf like Cai Sukan very early when he first met Yang Yu, but he never expected that one day. As long as it's electrified and the electricity is strong enough, that's the salted fish king's true love. Brother, the direction in which these electric lights are focused. Yang Xiao, who has been observing and searching, discovered the special situation. These elves have their heads raised. Although it is unclear where their eyes are, we can guess that there must be something noteworthy where their eyes are focused. Wait, what kind of elf is this? Yang Yu glanced out of the corner of his eye, and out of the corner of his eye he caught a glimpse of the white strip-like tail that looked particularly abrupt under the golden light of the electric beam wood, and the half-black and half-white figure under the shadow effect in the darkness. Among the ultimate beasts. Is there such an elf? Philomenia. Yeah. When a stern face appeared in the stupid superpower picture, Dede was also surprised in his heart. Their snooping from a distance was discovered. And precisely at this time, in the scroll, the black rotating shadow ball exuding explosive energy exploded in front of this stern-faced elf. Sana. The light of the ghost power illuminated the ferocious big mouth and the white and arrogant front teeth, which were the appearance of Jengar's symbol. The most important thing. It's the white light full of hope that appears on this Jengar. It's him. It's him, it's him. But who adds pain to Gengui? Gardevoir. Yang Xiao exclaimed. At this moment, Gardevoir's skirt suddenly swung open, and the white skirt corners began to flow with a dark atmosphere. This pair of soft pink eyes, at this moment, was covered with a layer of ghostly purple. The little dream demon looked at the changes in Gardevoir's body in great surprise, as if watching a will-o'-the-wisp burning from Gardevoir's body. You. Minas and Kui Long looked at each other even more dumbfounded. The advent of what love is? From the dark sky, a red flame sword fell like the Scarlet Witch. The target, Mutuo. How is it possible? How could such an elf appear in the elf world? When Yang Yu used the light illuminated by Gardevoir's phantom slash, which was like a sword of red flames, to see clearly the elves fighting Jengar, his whole mind was filled with waves of shock. Humans, have they really taken this step? Darkrai felt a throbbing in his heart. The most terrifying thing is not the nightmare, but the heart that is as silent as the deep sea. Mewtwo. A sword comes from the sky. The familiar phantom slash, the familiar smell, and the figure that I will never forget even a world away. The smile that just appeared on Jengar's face froze when he saw the ferocious Gardevoir rising up and coming towards him. Qing Mimi glanced at Chao Meng. Then he looked down at his gradually whitening body. Wife, listen to my explanation. Pokémon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 1051. Super Attack. Facing the phantom slash that came from the air to tear through the darkness, Chao Meng raised his eyes. As for it, Chao Meng was keenly aware of the strong hostility between this phantom slash. For the first time, the purple color condensed on the palms of his hands super aperture, shoot forward unhurriedly. It was precisely because of this that Jengar realized that the constantly changing white color on his body made Gardevoir mistakenly believe that the self-proclaimed super cute elf in front of him was an elf full of malice towards Jengar. Protect shortcomings. This is a bond that transcends time and life formed unknowingly between Jengar and Gardevoir. It has a bit of the same demeanor as I did back then. Cressalia's eyes were full of admiration, she murmured words, and her eyes vaguely drifted to a certain elf. Even Gengui, who was summoned by the Dragon King of the Underworld, seeks more blessings from himself, Love is really untouchable, even if he is as powerful as my nightmare god, Dark Clay. Darkray's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. There is murderous intent next door. Darkrai quickly restrained himself from being naughty and calmed down. In addition to the familiar scenes that appeared on Gardevoir, Darkrai was more importantly focused on the artificial elf Mewtwo. On the body. It's an incredible thing, but it just happened. Darkrai, I remember that Lord, seemed to have made such a prophecy a long time ago, Cresselia said in a daze, her tone suddenly solemn. Major changes in the elf world are often accompanied by unknown elves and unknown powers in the elf world, and they may also come from humans. Darkrai said solemnly. The reverse world comes to the real world of elves. In the past, this time was at least 100 years apart. However, with the progress of human civilization and the development of modern industrialization and urbanization, the frequency of reversal of the world is becoming more and more frequent compared to ancient times. The last time the reverse world came, the three holy birds entered the elven real world to sleep from the secret realm of the Sky City. Last time, Regielok and the other two holy pillar elves were severely damaged in the real world of elves. Regielok even shattered from his intact form into two cores. Earlier, Darkrai counted in detail some of the things that happened during the time when the world reversed in history, which seemed irregular but had hidden mysteries that made them shudder. Cresselia's thoughts changed. I remember that Raikau, Suicune, and Entei disappeared after the reversal of the world in history. Was it a huge forest fire? The balance of the protective order in the elven world is constantly being broken, but we have no way of knowing which side the new elves are on. Darkrai kept his eyes fixed on Mewtwo. Is it the side that breaks the balance, or the side that maintains the balance? Boom! Xiao Meng controlled the superpower with both hands and pinched the phantom slash that split the sky. In the sky, the amazingly powerful phantom slash was instantly shattered by the invisible force. In such a scene, even Gengar, who has been training with Mewtwo for a long time, Gardevoir who is using his moves, and even Dede, Darkrai, and Cresselia, all fall into the confusion of understanding superpowers. In shock. Mental destruction. Yang Yu took a breath of air. Mewtwo seemed to be able to control superpowers and control the world with ease, but he was able to forcefully dismantle Gardevoir's terrifying moves. You know, when Gardevoir was furious, he swept away the power of ghost and super attributes. Even the king-level elf had to weigh it. After all, this move did not leave almost any escape route for himself. Yes, only this indomitable momentum. Yeah. The big, dull eyes blinked brightly. This was the first time he heard the name of the move Elf Destruction. What can surprise Dede is this Elf Destruction. Why is it that it is supposed to be a special attack move, but it can produce the same effect as a physical attack move? What kind of move is this? How much power did humans put into this artificial elf? Darkrai and Cresselia were completely shocked by Mewtwo's move. If for Darkrai and the others, each god has his own unique moves. For example, Dialga's space-time roar, Darkrai's black hole, and Cresselia's crescent dance, then Mewtwo's mental destruction move is enough to deserve the name of god. More importantly, Xiao Meng's power is obviously still improving. It seems that in the reverse world, he is like a fish in water, and the constraints in the human world have disappeared. Some are just infinite energy in this space. GGGG. The panicked Gengar was running back and forth between Gardevoir and Mewtwo, who were about to take action again, with an extremely nervous look on his face, and his face was almost as tight as a donkey's. It's going to be long. Hey, the tearful Gengar finally found an opportunity. The moment Gardevoir raised his hand, he held it, held it, held it. The backhand is a hug that spans the world. Gardevoir followed this force and spun around. The skirt floating in the air was like the most beautiful blooming flower in the world. Gardevoir, whose eyes were red, was stunned in the sky as if he was electrocuted. Familiar feeling, familiar smell, and this familiar embrace, which is slightly smaller but warmer and more powerful than before. Found it, found it. Found Gengar. It rained on Gengar. Gardevoir's little fist struck Gengui's arms and Gengui's back, and white raindrops appeared on Gengui's body, and you could even hear them. The sound of rain crying. Darkrai and Cresselia looked at each other and smiled. The same is true for Kuai-Long and Minas. Perhaps only by experiencing this kind of love that spans an entire century or even an entire world can you understand the unforgettable emotions involved. The silence speaks. Yang Xiao couldn't find a handkerchief to wipe his tears for a while, so he borrowed Pang Ding from Yang Yu, hugged Pang Ding and cried with emotion. Poppy. Tijipai quickly called out the well-protected Frost Milk Fairy. It goes without saying that just cry and that's it. Yang Yu was frightened for a while. I'm afraid this kid Tijipai is going to cry about something earth-shattering. Fortunately, the crying may be relatively small, it seems. Nothing much happened. But what Yang Yu didn't know was that a star far, far, far away shone quietly at this moment. Chao Meng looked in the direction of Jengar and Gardevoir, lost in thought. It is still young and has experienced too little. Do not know why. Does it also want something to cuddle with? Mutuo hesitated for a moment. His eyes fell on Yang Yu. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Xiangxiao. Chapter 1052. This was a very brief period of stability. The collapse of the sky in the reverse world did not affect the real world of elves at all during the initial period. But as time continues to pass, more and more collapsed areas have formed an uncontrollable scale. Gradually, the collapsed areas of the reverse world are connected into an extremely huge space wormhole. Reversing the world's sky as reflected in the sky in the real world of elves, perhaps at first, because the world itself was in a polar night environment, people didn't have much suspicion, and just thought that the sky was getting darker and darker, which was natural condition. However, when something strange appears in the night sky in the real world, everything seems to be beyond people's expectations. Even, unheard of. Why are there fewer and fewer stars in the sky? What's going on? Is it that the weather has been gloomy recently, or that the fog has become thicker? Have the stars changed? How come I don't feel it at all? You can't see too many stars here in the Magic City. Yanjing Ad 1. It wouldn't be surprising if the number of stars has decreased significantly in some places. After all, the temperature and environment are changing every day. Even in mountainous areas with fresh air, stars are invisible when it rains continuously. As the reverse world arrives for longer and longer, people in the real world find that after it arrives, except for the sky becoming eternal night, their lives are not affected much, especially for people who used to work at night. Explain. But this is not a reason for the Elf Alliance to take it lightly. The situation may be more serious than they were prepared for. What happened in the reverse world? Why are the stars we can see swallowed by the dark area, and the stars, just disappear? In the past, you could see the brilliant stars at night in the Magic City, but due to environmental pollution, the night sky, covered by clouds formed by turbid air, gradually lost its original luster. Now, the stars are gradually disappearing, but it happens in the most unlikely place, Mount Everest. Is the environment in the reverse world starting to deteriorate? Trainers from all over the world gathered in the Everest area, including some who left legends in their youth. The longer they stayed in the Everest area, the more serious the situation became. Ice Queen, how come the stars here on Mount Everest are so diminished? Our satellites can no longer detect those shining stars, and can't even capture them in pictures. What happened? In the Everest Trainer Base Camp, several resident gym-level trainers and the Ice Queen Wang Tongbing all realized that the situation was not good. Tell the Elf Alliance headquarters that it seems necessary for us to send an exploration team to the reverse world. In an unknown scene, the Ice Queen felt an inexplicable stinging pain in her chest, and she even started to feel dizzy at the scene in front of her. She quickly left the room and went straight to the open space. Her eyes fell on the brightest star with great concern. Polaris. So far so good. The light of the North Star is still so bright. Only. The Ice Queen suddenly seemed to think of something, and there was a strong uneasiness on her face that was a little pale due to the twitching of her heart. Quick! Go to the library, hurry up, Sister Mi-Chuan, let's go to the library on the mountainside. Ice Queen. King of Heaven, where are you going? The figure that disappeared in a hurry made the surrounding gym-level trainers feel puzzled and confused. Dragon Messenger Xia's Hepeng constantly toured various regions in China to appease and stabilize the situation. The situation in the Mount Everest area is controlled by the Ice Queen. Dragon Messenger and other heavenly kings rarely appear on Mount Everest unless absolutely necessary. Now there seemed to be fear beneath the coldness in the Ice Queen's voice, which made everyone a little uneasy. Library. In the temple that guards Mount Everest, there are historical materials recorded and preserved by trainers in the Everest area throughout the ages, including precious books on astrological predictions, calculations, etc. What the Ice Queen is looking for is information about the annihilation of stars. Among them, this is even more related to a legendary elf that wakes up once every 1,000 years. Jiriki, the wishing star, I hope it will appear soon, this is the spirit that can bring hope of dawn in the dark night. Wang Tongbing quickly flipped through an ancient book in his hand, without even noticing that there were even signs of being torn on the edges of the book. When her fingers suddenly stopped on the page, the Ice Queen's pupils suddenly shrank. Boom 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 boom. At this moment, there was a clear vibration on the ground. No, earthquake on Mount Everest. But just when the Ice Queen rushed out of the bookstore and saw the highest point of Mount Everest, an incredible castle appeared on the top of the sky. Castle in the sky. Frozen bird, is Frozen bird about to wake up? At this moment, all the trainers at the foot of Mount Everest immediately entered a state of alert. This is a secret order from the Elf Alliance headquarters. Waiting for the Frozen bird to wake up? The patron saints of the elven world. They will always appear when you need them most. Turn the world upside down. Under the words of Minas and Gengui, Yang Yu deeply realized the seriousness of the situation in the reverse world. Before the ultimate alien beasts came here through the space wormhole, the reverse world was an ecosystem that could coordinate with each other. However, more and more ultimate alien beasts entered the reverse world, and the ecology here has begun to be affected. Big influence. The most significant thing is the decrease in the food harvest of the native elves in the reverse world. We need to send these ultimate beasts back. GGG. When Yang Yu sighed, Gengui agreed with what Yang Yu said. Because this is what Lord Giratina, the Dark Dragon King, thinks. To return these ultimate beasts to their original world. However, the most important question is what real reason happened in the world where these ultimate beasts originally lived, causing the space wormholes to continuously lead to the reverse world. In the follow-up process, how to repair this reversed world that is already riddled with holes. If these problems are not solved, the reverse world will eventually be dragged down and destroyed by these ultimate beasts. The ultimate alien beasts are also elves, and artificial elves are all elves. We are all living beings with thoughts. Killing will never solve these current problems. After what I have experienced these days and the memories in my mind, these ultimate beasts would not have appeared here if their own world had not been polluted and destroyed. They should also have the right to survive. This is supposed to be a balanced world. But now, when one world is threatened by the survival of another world, how can this balance be remaintained? Human, I found it. When Darkrai sent a key message from the dream world, the group engraved in the dream, Yang Yu fell into a long silent silence. The light in the ultimate space that can imbue life power. So that's it? So that's it? Necrozma. Pokemon's character master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 1053. Necrozma, this elf, let's make a long story short, its existence depends on the energy of light. In other words, light is its food. Is this the dark elf? The dark elf feeds on the energy of light. Yang Xiao thought for a while, as if he could understand a little bit. It's quite peculiar. Darkrai and Cresselia both saw the shock in each other's eyes. On the other side of the dream world, the mystery of the past doubts was finally unveiled at this time. Even if it was just the tip of the iceberg, it still brought incredible spiritual wonder to the two of them. Because this necrozma is not as simple as it seems. It's just like elves' evolution and fusion. Sun God, Moon God, necrozma. I finally know why the environment in the ultimate space is experiencing rapid deterioration. Why? Darkrai asks subconsciously. Why do humans know about the elves in that world? Do you even understand it so clearly? Darkrai once thought that Yang Yu's true identity might be related to that adult, but in the reverse world, Yang Yu's understanding of those ultimate beasts made Darkrai extremely confused. Those elves in the ultimate space. Lord Nether Dragon King may not even understand it, and even that lord may know very little about it. Who is this person? The ultimate space is undergoing an environmental evolution. This evolution is just like the environment where the fossil elves of the Cretaceous period lived. Fossil pterosaurs, spiny ammonite beasts, baby tyrannosaurs, and ancient feather insects. These are all a typical fossil elf. These elves should have been the most common elves in the elf world in ancient times or even super ancient times. However, due to drastic changes in the environment, for them, it was the deterioration of the environment that eventually led to the near extinction of these elves, with only a few sleeping in the form of fossils. Yang Yu thought for a while and said slowly. These things were described in the history textbook of Elf High School, so Yang Xiao nodded very understandingly, and his eyes lit up. Brother, you mean? Cresselia quickly answered, the space where these ultra-exotic beasts live is facing the same drastic environmental changes as the fossil pterosaurs during the Cretaceous period. Yang Yu nodded deeply. If I guessed correctly, it should be the changes that occurred in necrozma that caused the current situation in the ultimate space. But, why? Darkrai didn't understand very much. Why is this elf, not so much devouring, but more like merging with the other two elves? In Darkrai's impression, this is simply impossible. Elf fusion. Is this still the ability possessed by elves? However, Darkrai looked at the human trainer Yang Yu in front of him, and the artificial elf Mutuo who was silent and seemed to be studying his own. For a moment, it seemed that he could understand it again. Judging from the feedback screen, the left side of this dark elf exudes brilliance and is like a lion. In the ultimate space, it has the title of Sun God. Solgaleo owns the sun, the power, and the shadow on the right is the elf moon god corresponding to the sun god, Luna Yara. The interaction between the sun and the moon and the fusion of necrozma also mean that the environment of the ultimate space is constantly evolving. But evolution will inevitably cause discomfort to the survival of native elves? Darkrai immediately raised his own question. Even if the elf world evolves, the elf can still adapt by relying on its strong adaptability, but why? It's the evolution of the environment, it's a bit drastic. Yang Yu's tone gradually became a little worried. If it weren't for drastic changes, then the fossil pterosaurs in the Cretaceous period would not have become extinct in large numbers. I think this is probably related to necrozma's ultimate fusion. This time is related. The sun god Solgaleo, the moon god Lunala, and necrozma, these three merge into one, and the ultimate body of necrozma is able to maintain the absolute stability of the ultimate space, but it is still in the unstable stage of integration. Anything can happen. Darkrai did not ask what might happen, because Darkrai had experienced too much about the evolution of the world. This is a more dangerous situation than the reverse world coming to the real world of elves. If the war between Dialga, Palkia, and Lord Giratina, the Dragon King of the underworld, could not be stopped tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years ago, perhaps there would be no such three things as reversal, time, and space today. World. We must tell Mr. Nether Dragon King about this matter immediately. GGG. Cressalia's words resonated with Jengar and Minas. For Jengar and Minas, this is the world at the beginning of their second life. Nowadays, drastic changes in the environment in the ultimate space may cause uncontrollable damage to the environment of the reverse world. Now we know the possibility. The most important reason is to find a way. Solve this terrifying puzzle. The matter was of great importance, and they had to tell Lord Pluto Dragon King. Superpower, Ghost. I think I may finally know why the Creator God will use the dream world as the line of defense between the ultimate space and the real world of elves. Darkrai recalled the various situations in his thoughts, from the dream world to the mysterious necrozma in the ultimate space, and the evil power in his body began to be vigorously and continuously activated. So that's it? Cressalia immediately understood what Darkrai meant, and was shocked even more than Darkrai. Prepare for a rainy day. Perhaps what Darkrai said was an important factor in why the Creator God gave them both missions in the dream world. Yang Yu was stunned immediately. Hearing what Darkrai said, and then recalling the elf information about necrozma in his mind, at this moment, his pupils suddenly shrank. Darkrai's counterattack. Yang Yu murmured. For some reason, at this moment, Yang Yu was in awe when looking at Darkrai's flying figure in the past, even though he felt careless. Perhaps that's the only way. Seemingly sensing the growing respect in Yang Yu's eyes, Darkrai looked a little joking. I have never seen you, a human, show such an expression in front of me. Yes. This is the Nightmare God, Darkrai. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 1054. I'm going to meet Lord Nether Dragon King. Brother, is this world really Nether Dragon King? Yang Xiao unknowingly started talking nonsense again. The experience in the reverse world is even more incredible than the secret realm of the sea temple in the deep ocean. This world. Is there really a Hades Dragon King? Of course, not only the Dark Dragon King, but also Palkia and Dialga exist, but we usually can't see them in the real world of elves. Yang Yu replied with a smile. Seriously, if you could. Yang Yu didn't want to see them either. It's definitely not a good thing to see. That guy Dialga would make time roar if he disagreed, and go back in time and space if he disagreed. At least when Yang Yu thought about it now, it was still terrifying and vivid. However, compared to Dialga, Yang Yu may have better senses for the Dark Dragon King Giratina. From the story between Kuai Long and Menus to the personal experiences of Jengar and Gardevoir, Yang Yu understood in his heart that Giratina was always deeply concerned about the reverse world and the real world of elves. When Menu's flying speed slowed down rapidly, and he was keenly aware of the unimaginable cold and ghostly feeling in his breath, the Salted Fish King and Dede immediately began to be on guard. It was a breath of the abyss. Yang Yu and Yang Xiao's hearts trembled at the same time. In this dim world, suddenly, as if above their heads, there was an extremely oppressive and huge black shadow, condensed from the sky. The Dark Phantom. The sound of heavy breathing, under the intimidating effect of this air pressure, made Yang Yu hold his breath for a moment. He knew that Giratina was coming. Right above his head, right behind the head of the Salted Fish King. The environment in which he met Dialga before seemed to reappear again, but the elf Yang Yu faced was not Dialga, but the master of the reverse world, Giratina, the Dragon King of the underworld. An interesting human being, Darkrai, Cressalia, long time no see. At this moment, Yang Xiao was suddenly confused by the sound that sounded in her soul. She had no experience in such a situation. Gardevoir stood vigilantly next to Yang Xiao. When Giratina's mountain-like black shadow gradually emerged from the fog, a huge and ghost-like figure, solemnity enveloped his heart. The huge vampire-like wings and the golden half-rings of Giratina perfectly set off its majestic body in its nobility. There is an emperor-like existence among dragon elves. Compared with Dialga's solitary appearance, there are two elves hidden in the shadows beside Giratina. Crystal lanterns, and pumpkin monsters whose eyes light up like will-o'-the-wisps. Who dash? Kuai Long raised his eyes, and the small wings on his back immediately entered a state of preparation for combat. Giratina. Kuai Long once wanted to defeat it, even in his dreams. But how powerful could the original Hakran be? Even now, even if he already has the strength to surpass the King of Heaven, only Kuai Long can deeply realize the gap in strength during this period. What's deeper is the oppression from the elven race. You too, I've been waiting for you for a long time, Kuai Long. To Giratina, the dragon in front of him was also an old friend. They even fought against each other once, but at that time they were still Kuai Longs in the Hakran era, and any moves they made were just scratching an itch. Who dash? Kuai Long is no longer the reckless Hakran he used to be. His unprovoked anger will only make him appear helpless and incompetent. Calm down and think about it carefully. If it weren't for Giratina, Kuai Long might never see Minas again in his life, because it was Giratina who helped him in the first place. Even help comes at a price. At this time, Yang Yu, like Yang Xiao, was silent and holding his breath. This kind of atmosphere where no pores on the body dared to tremble, and under Giratina's majestic pressure, it was really breathless. This is the intimidation of a superior, but it is more terrifying than Dialga, the god of time. He who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. Although in the reverse world, the people here are countless elves, Giratina, as the god of this world, is indispensable for the reverse world that is different from the past. Unlike Dialga, only the long river of time accompanies loneliness. Giratina. After a long time, Yang Yu finally said this noble name. God knows what you did. Yang Yu felt that every move he made in the reverse world seemed to be unable to escape Giratina's eyes. The pressure hanging over his heart gave Yang Yu a feeling of excitement for some reason. Turn out to be. I can also have a day like this. On the road to being a trainer, he encountered all kinds of magic in the elven world. Even though Yang Yuzhen didn't want to see Dialga and Giratina before, but after he actually saw them, the horizons and the mind are becoming wider and wider. Humans, I need the power of your elves in the real world. These alien beasts from other dimensions must be sent back to their original world, but they must wait until the environmental evolution in that world is completely completed. Giratina said slowly. The fusion of elves is like a starburst in the sun that transcends space and time. Under such terrifying power, there must be a strong defense force to withstand the terrifying spurt of photons in the galaxy. I have foreseen that the space where the alien beast is located is the key to whether the elven world can return to balance again. The trend of elven fusion is unstoppable, but if the powerful power similar to the sun that explodes cannot be blocked during the fusion period, if you dissolve and reverse the environment of the world and the real world of elves, you will suffer fatal damage. It's not just the melting of glaciers and ozone holes that you humans are worried about, there will even be a large number of biological pathogens frozen in the glaciers. Destiny. The fate of the reverse world, the fate of the real world of elves, the dream world, etc., is in the hands of you humans and us elves. Giratina saw extremely clearly. In the face of such a nearly cosmic level difficulty, not only an inverted world can solve it, but also requires the power of the entire elf world. Yang Yu didn't expect that Giratina would say such heavy and serious words to him. Yang Yu doesn't want to be a hero, and he doesn't have any plot to be a personal hero. However, in a person's life, there will eventually be a period, even a short period of time, when he will take a step forward and stand out among the crowd. This world needs more heroes. I will immediately go to the boundary between the reverse world and the real world of elves and tell the Elf Alliance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Xiao. Chapter 1055. Everest. The secret realm of Sky City actually appeared again. There is a mine. At this time, the appearance of this secret realm is a bit unusual, isn't it? Lao Wan, the frozen bird is sleeping here, and it seems that it has woken up now. Do you remember the flame bird at Mount Fuji last time? The appearance of the secret realm of Sky City can be explained. Oh, by the way, I don't know how Yang Yu and the others are doing now. It's not possible for me to enter the reverse world to take a look. There are too many ghost elves there, which suppresses the strength of my elves a bit too much. At the foot of Mount Everest, the two young trainers who maintain stability here with the Ice Queen are naturally none other than Wu Yuqian and Wan Kaizhu. After Yang Yu went to the reverse world, the two of them came to Mount Everest from the Yanjing area. When the world turns upside down, Mount Everest is the real front line. Someone is back from the front. Immediately, hurry up, we are ready to greet and support. Wu Yuqian said in a deep voice. The environment under the ice and snow of Mount Everest, especially at an altitude of 8,000 meters, if the trainers returning from the reverse world are not prepared, it is easy to suffer from severe hypoxia at high altitudes. In addition, if they encounter bad weather, it's a disaster. It is already very difficult for anyone to return from the reverse world. Even if it is just a taste of it, if it is damaged in the sky of Mount Everest in the real world of elves, the Elf Alliance cannot accept it. Under the ice and snow 8,000 meters away, a flying elf was fearlessly raising its bright red head feathers, like a tough and unyielding flag. Baidiao, with the background of being able to super-evolve, is still able to spread its powerful wings in the face of the high and cold environment of Mount Everest. It turns out that I, the big bird, can one day soar through the dangerous ice and snow environment of Mount Everest. Whose sculpture is this? This elf is too powerful. The benevolent sees benevolence, the wise see wisdom. The more ordinary and common elves are, it is easy for trainers to subconsciously think that these elves are not very powerful, because what they see are just ordinary elves under ordinary trainers. Lao Wan, is it cool? Do you want to learn? I can't learn it, I can't learn it. Wan Kaizhu shook his head helplessly. Even if he had the intention to let Baidiao fly here, without the foundation of super evolution, his Baidiao would not be able to fly here for too long. The people who have returned from the reverse world are not only trainers from the Chinese region, but almost the same. These people who have returned have a certain degree of feeling like they are surviving a disaster in the reverse world. Not everyone can adapt to the strange rules of the environment. Until the appearance of someone Yang. I'm going, am I dazzled? Yang Yu. Yang Yu is back. Wan Kaizhu rubbed his eyes. On the contrary, the cursed doll beside him had long recognized his familiar good friend Little Dream Demon. This aura was unmistakable. When he was happy, he almost skillfully reached out to seal Wan Kaizhu's eyes. Mouth. It is forbidden to make noise at high altitudes as it may cause a risk of falling. The Salted Fish King, the Slow King, who else could it be if it wasn't Yang Yu? It can't be a projection from the reverse world, right? Fortunately, it was Wu Yuqian who said this, otherwise Yang Yu would have shuddered even more if he heard it. Senior brother Qian, Lao Wan, long time no see. Yang Yu didn't expect that when he temporarily returned to Mount Everest from the reverse world, he would see his old acquaintances coming to greet him. This feeling was like returning home after a long journey. Let go of the cursed doll quickly. By the way, Yang Yu, it seems that you are back much earlier than we thought. Could it be that there is a big problem in the reverse world? Wan Kai's asked directly without thinking. Yang Yu and Yang Xiao's expressions were obviously dull. Good guy, if Lao Wan opens his mouth, nothing good will happen. Seeing Yang Yu's speechless expression for a moment, the cursed doll knew what to do. There is no way, he is too skilled. Wan Kai's shut up. Are the stars in the night sky no longer visible here on Mount Everest? Yang Yu discovered a place in the real world of elves that was very different from the past. When I looked up, the starry sky on Mount Everest before seemed to have disappeared into a black mist. Yes, the Ice Queen, the guardian here on Mount Everest, also told us that if anyone comes back from the reverse world, they must ask them immediately what happened in the reverse world. Yang Yu, is it Wan Kai? What Zhou said is that there is a terrible situation in the reverse world. The joy on Wu Yuqin's face to see his friend gradually turned serious. Others may not know what happened in the reverse world, but Yang Yu must have discovered something when he came back early this time. Otherwise, with Wu Yuqin's understanding of Yang Yu, it would be impossible to come back from this trip to the reverse world. So early. Let's talk about it when we go down. At an altitude of nearly 10,000 meters, the place is not suitable. It probably means I dare not speak loudly for fear of frightening the heavenly beings. Even if you talk about the things in the ultimate space, if you haven't seen it with your own eyes, you will still think it is a fantasy. Things are too incredible. That's right. Let's go down first. After the Ice Queen listens to you, Wu Yuqin nodded happily. Yang Yu, what did you say? On the other side of the reverse world, there is another world, which is what you call the ultimate space. Is there another universe outside the reverse world? A multidimensional space in the universe that has not yet been discovered. At the temporary Everest headquarters of the Elf Alliance, the important trainers stationed there, including Wu Yuqin and Wan Kai's were completely caught in an uproar. Outside the reverse world, the largest secret realm known to the real world of elves? Is there another universe that is no less than an inverted world? The history of the human elven world will be rewritten again. Is this true? Is there really another elven secret realm that is comparable to the reverse world? With a series of questions, the headquarters instantly became as lively as a vegetable market. Yang Yu did not continue to speak. This matter was indeed difficult for people to digest, and it would take some time for it to be accepted. Not to mention, this time, he may also represent Giratina, the Dark Dragon King, as a communicator between the reverse world and the real world of elves. Could it be that the disappearance of stars in the real world is related to the ultimate space? Even though the Ice Queen Wang Tongbing was also shocked by the news, as the backbone of this place, she would never lose her balance. In fact, the thoughts in her mind were running rapidly, and little details were being connected. It seemed that they were vaguely grasped. What did you live in? The detection of our satellite seems to have fallen into a bottleneck recently. Perhaps it is because of the wormhole formed in the ultimate space. The formation of the wormhole can block the detection of the satellite. Also, if the universe is the universe we know now, our vision is still too narrow. The Ice Queen sighed slightly, and she basically agreed with what Yang Yu said about the ultimate space. On such a major matter, King Yang Yushin would definitely not joke. It's just that the current problems in the ultimate space will have a huge impact on the reverse world and the real world of elves. It is likely to be a serious natural disaster. King Yang Yushin, please tell me the aura on Ice Queen Wang Tongbing's body was as powerful as majestic. In the ultimate space, the power of the sun and the power of the moon are in a delicate state. Before this balance is formed, terrifying cosmic energy will be released. The shock wave formed by the energy, if it passes through the inverted world, will bombard the opponent head-on. Our real world of elves? The great collision of the universe during the Cretaceous period. Pokémon's character master. Author, Ai Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 1056. Dragon Messenger, the appearance of ice sinking on the seabed as big as an island in the Arctic Ocean corresponds to historical circumstances and is related to the awakening of the ice god Pillar Regis. King Fanglian, Regis Chiru, the sleeping pillar of steel in the French region, has recently begun to regain consciousness beneath the surface of the Eiffel Tower. The elf secret realm of Sky City has appeared again. Heavy snow has begun blowing on Mount Everest. The frozen bird has awakened from its slumber. The signs of its life activities can be sensed in the body of Mount Everest. And Reggie Locke. As if summoned by some force, the ancient elves in the real world of elves gradually began to move in the areas where they had lost their traces and disappeared. This has attracted the attention of many countries and regions around the world. Every time the reverse world comes, there will be such elves appearing in the world. It's just that this time, the number of those guardian gods, appears is a bit more than in the past hundreds of years. This time, the situation may be more serious. In the World War of the last century, we humans brought indelible disasters to the elven world. Even though we are making up for it now, the trauma left behind, the land in the world, is still remembered. Turn the world upside down, there is a crisis. The more the reverse world comes, the more major events occur in the real world of elves, which brings a vague uneasiness to ordinary people. Within the Chinese Elf Alliance, they are even more cautious about this matter. Yang Yu, although our satellite cannot detect the specific appearance of that mysterious elf, we have discovered through the solar induction of the Sun Rock Elf in the Super Holy Land that if the powerful solar energy breaks out, it will have a huge impact on the vegetation and oceans of our elf world. And glaciers, causing devastating effects, these effects will eventually lead to a crisis for the living environment of humans and elves. In the past historical records, only during the Cretaceous period, that is, the era when fossil pterosaurs and dinosaur-like elves lived, did such a situation occur. Ice Queen Wang Tongbing said solemnly. Isn't this the whole world going to suffer? Wang Kaizu was dumbfounded. Wu Yuqian quickly took Wang Kaizu's hand and told him not to say the wrong thing at this time. The more Wang Kaizu said at this time, the easier it would be for something serious to happen. Actually, it's not as scary as you think, because the elf world is always developing and progressing. In the face of such a crisis, we can indeed have a certain degree of protection. The first thing to bear the brunt of these bursts of solar energy is the inverted world. The space of the inverted world will help our elven world weaken the huge solar energy and eventually radiate to our elven world. In fact, although such energy is difficult to control, but we can still withstand a lot of solar energy and reduce this energy to the maximum level of solar energy in life. Then we don't have to be afraid of such a situation. Wang Kai was stunned for a moment on Monday. Wasn't his surprise just now a bit too stupid? Not that simple. Yang Yu shook his head. Perhaps for ordinary people, knowing that in the face of natural disasters, there is another world that suffers the greatest disasters on their behalf, and the disasters that ultimately fall on people's world are not serious, it feels as if the natural disasters are not too big. Impact. This is not the case. In particular, Yang Yu had experienced the reversal of the world group, and had a memorable conversation with Giratina, the Dark Dragon King. What Yang Yu saw was more thorough. After all, the reverse world is integrated with the real world of elves. The disasters suffered by the reverse world will affect our real world of elves through the interconnection of the world. Remember the Mirror Lake in Sky City? Although the relationship between the Mirror Lake and the secret realm of Sky City is not very comparable to the relationship between the reverse world and the elf world, the principle is the same. The pollution of the Mirror Lake, eventually leading to ecological environment problems in other areas within the secret territory of Sky City. If the reverse world is subject to drastic changes in the environment, how can the elf world not be affected? Lake of Mirrors, what? I see. Wang Kaizu had no impression of Mirror Lake for a while, but Wu Yuqian quickly understood what Yang Yu meant. After all, Lao Wan has never been to Mirror Lake. Even if he heard about it, it was only from what Yang Yu and Wu Yuqin heard inadvertently during the exchange, so the impression was naturally not that deep. Yang Yu, have you been to the Mirror Lake in the secret realm of Sky City? Ice Queen Wang Tongbing was stunned for a moment, but quickly put away her shocked expression. Thinking about it carefully, there seems to be nothing that cannot be understood. After all, Yang Yu is the leader who can discover Z moves and create a new era. And please don't forget that turning the world upside down cannot withstand the fierce sunshine. Wu Yuqin mentioned an important point. Most of the elves in the reverse world are ghost elves, and there is only night in the world, no day, and even the light source is very weak, a weak light source that is incomparable to sunlight. In contrast, people in the real world of elves can adapt no matter whether it is day or night. By the way, there's one more thing. Yang Yu paused and coughed lightly. What's going on? Wang Kaizhu asked subconsciously. I saw Giratina. Wang Kaizhu. Wu Yuqin. Ice Queen Wang Tongbing. Wang Kaizhu suddenly danced like crazy, going crazy, and then almost said the weakest and even crying words with the cruelest expression. Yang Yu, why didn't you tell me earlier? Yang Yuping's tone was calm, as if seeing Giratina was just an extremely normal thing. If this was Wang Kaizhu, why not start by making a big fuss, dance like a god here, and then go crazy and spread the word about it as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know? Giratina. What elf is that? That is the god who can turn the world upside down. It's equivalent to. Yang Yu whispered in his heart. Speaking of which, he had fought with Dial Ga, and he should have won. Yang Yu, what does Giratina look like? Is it like the one in the records, like a big centipede, and can eat a rumble rock in one bite? Eat Long Longian? Why does Giratina eat rumble rock? Seeing Wang Kaizhu making random gestures here, Yang Yu was also speechless for a while. To be serious, we are still talking about reversing the possible crisis of the world. Netherworld King, Giratina. Wang Tongbing took a deep breath. That is the legendary elf, the patron saint of the reverse world. Likewise, it also shelters the real world of elves in an unknown way. Pokémon's character master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Shao. Chapter 1057. Regirock, are you okay here on Mount Everest? When Yang Yu went to the reverse world, Reggie Locke's wisdom core did not follow him. Instead, he stayed on Mount Everest waiting for the frozen bird to awaken and merge with the power core. It's okay, the real world of elves needs our action again. Reggie Locke's core of wisdom flashed in his eyes. Yes, the Ice God Pillar and the Steel God Pillar, I only learned not long ago that they have become active in the elven world. Yang Yu sighed. These patron saints, who had not appeared for a long time, gradually unveiled their hidden veils when the real world of elves needed them most. Just like Mount Everest at this moment. The secret realm of Sky City is just above, but due to the night sky and the gradually dissipating starlight, it is difficult to see its true appearance in the misty clouds. Has Jengar been found? Has Hakran found its mother, Venus? Although Reggie Locke stays on Mount Everest, he is still very relevant to these two things. Yang Yu smiled and nodded, we found it, and we also met the Dark Dragon King Giratina. Reggie Locke's eyes visibly stagnated, and he slowly spoke, Master Nether Dragon King, that is a very remarkable legendary elf. Yes. Yang Yushin thought so. With Dial Ga in contrast, what Giratina did in the reverse world will appear to be extremely great. By the way, leave the safety of the elves in the real world to us. The power of human trainers is for ourselves and our homeland this time. We will definitely be able to block the violent solar energy. Reggie Locke punched lightly with both fists. Hit. World Elf Alliance. The power of the sun and the moon are returning to order, but returning to this balanced order will trigger destructive energy. The patron saint of the elven world has appeared, bringing reliable barriers to the sky, land, and ocean. The next thing I want to say is that we need to jointly send a strong team of trainers to the reverse, dark, world. This is different from the previous countries and regions setting off individually. This time it is a joint defense deployment. What we will face will be powerful solar radiation. But for us human trainers, powerful solar radiation, it can be transformed into other effective forces through the power of mechanical science. There's no denying that this is a crisis, but equally, it's also an opportunity. With the continuous exploitation and utilization of energy in the elf world, oil, coal, and other resources have not reached a critical point, but we need more new energy to solve the energy supply problem. Reversing the solar energy encountered by the world will be the most powerful solar movement we humans have ever encountered, but once we control and transform it, it will also be of great benefit to the elven world. This plan is named, Source Plan, Union. China, Mount Everest. The World Elf Alliance has already taken corresponding measures. This time, there will be hundreds of trainers above the gym level around the world who will go to the reverse world in a joint way. Of course, that includes the King of Heaven. Dragon Messenger Xiazhepeng quickly rushed to Mount Everest, the Chinese front line closest to the reverse world, and had close and serious communication with Yang Yu and his team of trainers here. Yang Yu, have you seen Giratina in the reverse world? After the meeting, Xiazhepeng came to talk to Yang Yu alone. Yang Yu nodded seriously. At this time, it was not a time for joking. He quickly said, "This time I returned from the reverse world ahead of schedule. In fact, I also have a mission, which is to seek assistance for Giratina in our real world of elves." Strength. The power of assistance. Xiazhepeng sighed deeply. The situation that reversal world encountered this time seems to be really serious. Yang Yu immediately replied in a deep voice, "Yes, Dragon Messenger, you have also seen that in the sky of our real world of elves, the stars here have been greatly reduced from the starry sky, because the sky over the reverse world, collapsed." Collapsed, Xiazhepeng was suddenly startled. "I have seen it with my own eyes." Yang Yu said with some sadness and sympathy, "The ultimate space where the ultimate alien beasts exist, because this time the sun and the moon returned from chaos to balance, this process led to the ultimate space. A large number of ultimate alien beast elves have to go to the reverse world through space wormholes. And the collapse of the sky in the reverse world is because of these ultimate beasts." Xiazhepeng rubbed the corners of his eyes, and soon, as if he realized something, his eyes became a little brighter. "If the world had not been reversed, would these strange beasts have come to us?" Yang Yushin nodded in agreement. Xiazhepeng's voice was trembling. "Several scientists have mentioned that the existence of the reverse world is to help our world resist and isolate some elven crises from outside the sky. At that time, due to technical limitations and little understanding of the universe, and more importantly, because we were still highly hostile and wary of the elven secret realm of the reversal world, those views were quickly replaced by buried by the mainstream." What the Dragon Messenger said were secrets that Yang Yu had never heard before. When it comes to the unknown, most people tend to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. As their understanding of the elven world and the reverse world continues to refresh, they can gradually realize that humans and elves, it is a true community of destiny. By the way, Yang Yu, we have found a total of 14 pieces of radiance stones and 10 pieces of Z-pure crystals in the Chinese area. Now we are going to inform the World Elf Alliance that we will use the power of the World Elf Alliance to find more radiant stones and Z-pure crystals. I think that in the face of this natural disaster this time, they will be the same as the super evolutionary stones, a pillar of strength. What Xiazhepeng, a heavenly king who is nearly 60 years old, said at this moment is full of power that is hard to express. Perhaps, this is the kind of power that gives him the power to step forward when people in the elf world need him. Yang Yu thought. Perhaps some of the radiant stones and Z-pure crystals he still stored there should be handed over to more promising trainers from China at such a critical moment. Under the dark night of Mount Everest, a light that seemed to be able to replace sunlight, like an icy blue orb, began to shine on the top of Mount Everest. The slight vibration caused by Mount Everest instantly attracted the attention of Yang Yu and dragon messenger Xiazhepeng. Castle in the sky. The frozen bird is coming to the real world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Xiangxiao. Chapter 1058. What happened? Is there another earthquake here on Mount Everest? No, 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 it's not that kind of earthquake, it's a mountain. Look at the end of the mountain. In the dark night with no sun and only starlight, the dazzling blue ice light was a long-lost light, freely releasing a vigorous and icy atmosphere on the top of Mount Everest. Frozen bird. It turns out that frozen bird is really on Mount Everest. Didn't the Elf Alliance say it before? Are you stupid? No, 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 this is the first time I have seen such an elf appear with my own eyes. I was not able to go to the scene that time at Mount Fuji. It's so spectacular. A pair of eyes in amazement stared intently at the holy and glorious scene in front of them in the empty mountain plains under Mount Everest. The soft and loud voice of the frozen bird made a happy neighing sound in the night sky. Hold head high. Like a newborn, like a new arrival. The moving voice cleanses the hearts of human trainers. This kind of listening from the inside out, even if you just listen with your ears, you can feel the unparalleled wonderful mood of frozen bird from the bottom of your heart. Wu Yuqian's eyes suddenly lost focus, it's so clear. Wang Kai's who agreed with deep understanding, last time in Mount Fuji, the voice of the flame bird was full of endless anger. Now, only with the friendship of our Chinese Elf Alliance in the Everest region can the frozen bird it makes such a joyful sound. The divine bird is born. Yang Yu was also amazed. In the sky full of ice and snowflakes, the frozen bird spread its dazzling wings to control the wind and snow. The surrounding snowflakes and surrounding ice particles seemed to obey its call, and in an instant, like the waves of the ocean, they moved toward ripples all around. Spread your wings like a galaxy. Everything in the sky was not over yet. When a ball of flames burst into flames over Mount Everest, it spread out in all directions in the sky like fireworks. The sublimation of fire and ice creates rippling water mist, temporary clouds formed by the water mist, and a sharp thunder, which seems to be able to split the darkness of this world. Flame bird and lightning bird, the two sacred birds of the Sky City, have been waiting for frozen bird for a long time. Only before the freezing bird could fly to the position of the flame bird and lightning bird, a sudden blue light, even faster than the lightning, took the lead and came forward to meet them. Roar. Good guy. People who don't know better think that someone is dubbing the lightning. Yang Yu only felt that something was missing around him. Siba. Salted Fish King. Yeah. The eyes of frozen bird that had just emerged from Mount Everest were full of question marks. Who is this? Where did Gyarados come from? And he actually wanted to join the three sacred birds. But what frozen bird never expected was, when good brother Zapdos saw this Gyarados, the power of releasing lightning began to be intermittent, as if the power outage suddenly began one after another. To frozen bird, lightning bird is a good brother, but to Salty Fish King, lightning bird is also his good brother. This is a lifelong friendship. Just like the lightning on the lightning bird, the Salted Fish King is greedy. Good brother lightning bird, do you want some lightning? The sky, at this moment, seemed to have fallen into a frozen silence. Is the Salted Fish King afraid of ice? Not afraid. Are you afraid of fire? Not afraid either. The electric power that elves such as Gyarados are most afraid of doesn't seem to be very useful. Not to mention the Salty Fish King's huge body and powerful super-evolved body scales, which have established his excellent resistance to beatings. To put it simply, it means rough skin and thick flesh. King Yang Yushin's Gyarados is indeed very powerful. These are the three sacred birds: the freezing bird, the flame bird, and the lightning bird. Ordinary king-level elves may be afraid of their pure single attribute power. As expected of you, Salted Fish King. Why do you feel that watching the reunion of Freeze Bird, Flame Bird, and Lightning Bird, a fourth party is involved? I'm just afraid that the air will suddenly become quiet. Where have these trainers at the foot of Mount Everest seen such a scene? Why did the style of this exciting reunion of the three holy birds change suddenly? What's more, it seems Lightning Bird is still a little afraid of this giant Gyarados. Yang Yu covered his eyes. I'm afraid that if this frozen bird can't think about it for a while, he will return to Mount Everest and become autistic, then Yang Yu will be a big sinner. However, the appearance of the frozen bird on Mount Everest is not only a matter of the three sacred birds, but also Reggie Rock. Just when this scene was extremely awkward and immersed in honeyed silence, there was an astonishing sound of click, 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 like the mountain moving on Mount Everest. How fat for is this? What happened again? No way, it won't happen on Mount Everest. Will there be another avalanche? Another avalanche? Ice Queen Wang Tongbing frowned immediately. She had prepared all measures for what happened like this, but this time, things seemed to go beyond her expectations. In addition to the resurrection of the frozen bird, what else is there on Everest? Reggie Locke. At this time, Yang Yu didn't care that the Salted Fish King was standing side by side with the three holy birds. The frozen bird appeared in the world, bringing out not only the miracles of the three holy birds, but also the core of Regirock's wisdom that had been waiting for him. That it? Reggie Locke, the core of power. In the ice of Mount Everest, the birth of the frozen bird allowed the core of Regirock's power hidden deep inside the mountain to finally see the world outside the ice. Freeze yourself just to appear better. The wisdom of the core of strength is to prevent the reckless self from causing damage to the outside world and ruthlessly freezing oneself when the core of wisdom is lost. After the frozen calm, meeting with Reggie Locke's intellectual center is the best time. Easy. Diangzi's two crystal eyes looked at the changes in the core of Reggie Locke's wisdom in disbelief. The three little diamonds who followed Diangzi on Mount Everest felt like they were seeing gods at this moment. The core of wisdom and the core of strength rushed towards each other in the ice channel opened by the freezing bird, and at the moment when the two embraced and collided, Reggie Locke, combined. Can you hear the sound of the mountains? The rock god pillar, Reggie Locke, announced its reappearance to the elf world on the top of Mount Everest. Layers of solid rocks from the depths of the ice, blocks with closely related veins. In fact, these little diamonds inexplicably discovered that they were secretly holding some valuable rocks. When their hands gathered towards the giant rock elves, babble. Little Sushin feels a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, Diangzi patted their heads and placed three small pink diamond beans in Little Diamond's empty arms. The little core of wisdom of Reggie Locke found the most suitable rock body in the rock that was reorganized and polished again and again. Oh my god, are you watching a science fiction movie? This sci-fi blockbuster is not as good as the special effects. Hold the grass, hold the grass. What kind of elf is this? Everest, the mountain has gods. The dust slowly settled. A giant rock stands on the top of Mount Everest. This is the patron saint of the land. Rock god pillar. Reggie Locke in full form. Pokémon's character master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 1059. The rock god pillar, the ice god pillar standing in the ice floes in the Arctic, and the steel god pillar in France, plus the three god pillars from the elf world in front of us, the patron saint of the land, are all here. Don't forget, there are three holy birds in the sky. By the way, the Gyarados stuck in the middle doesn't count. As we all know, Gyarados is not a dragon, let alone a bird. By the way, the team of trainers organized by the World Elf Alliance to go to the reverse world. It needs to be at a level above the gym level. I heard that many retired kings in our country have returned to the world this time. For young trainers, having this experience will give them a clearer understanding of their future paths as trainers. The world of elves has revealed a corner of its secrets for them. It's a pity that we couldn't find any traces of Lei Gong, Shui Jun, and Yan Emperor. Ice Queen Wang Tongbing shook her head slightly. Yang Yu heard Darkrai once say when he was reversing the world that it was a history that the elves seemed unwilling to reveal. However, Yang Yu always felt that the three holy beasts were still among the elves. Somewhere in the world, the future awaits. Yang Yu, go up there and see Reggie Locke. It's hard for me to imagine that a core that was so small before could become so huge now. Wu Yuqian's eyes were bright. Regirock, yes, yes, I remember that the inexplicable rumbling rock that followed Yang Yu before. Sometimes it was also the rumbling stone and the small fist stone. I always felt that this elf was different from Yang Yu's other elves. It seems out of place in comparison. Damn it, it turns out to be the patron saint Regirock. That's okay. Wan Kaizu was still dancing and gesticulating. This guy's recent understanding of the world had more or less had some minor problems. Compared with Lao Wan, Wu Yuqian was obviously much calmer. Can this not be calm? Just get used to it. Under the power of Dudu, Yang Yu took Xiao Yu, together with Wu Yuqian and Wan Kaizu, to the top of Mount Everest, in front of the Zunyan Divine Pillar. Compared with the core of Regirock's wisdom, the complete Regirock has a more ancient aura. Several rotating bearings formed by polishing pink diamonds from Diancie carry the movement force of Reggie Locke's joints. The fist was many times bigger than before. Yang Yu believed that if he had encountered Regirock like this for the first time, he would not have dared to do such a 1v1 with a real person. Yang Yu couldn't even think about Reggie Locke's punch. Regirock, you are finally in your full body, it's really great. Yang Yu sighed sincerely. Reggie Locke looked at his fist, tested his strength, and touched Yang Yu's shoulder in the smallest and gentlest way. Although it was very light, Yang Yu felt a heaviness that only he and Reggie Locke could understand. Yang Yu, you are going to the reverse world again, please pay attention to safety. I am here, there are Freeze Bird, Flame Bird, and Lightning Bird, as well as the Steel God Pillar and the Ice God Pillar, this barrier in the real world of elves. Please feel free to leave it to us. The patron saint of the elven world. Even though Reggie Locke once hated the title patron saint, he still silently carried this title on his shoulders. Because, it is the rock god pillar Regirock. In the reverse world, Giratina will join forces with Dialga, Palkia, and the two patron saints of the dream world to face the drastic changes in the energy of the sun and moon in the ultimate space. The words spoken by Yang Yu once again gave Wu Yuqian and Wan Kaizu an extremely strong shock. Dialga, Palkia, etc., etc. Yang Yu, what did you say? What are Giratina, Dialga, and Palkia trying to do together with Dialga and Palkia? Such power, I'm afraid it can. Before Wan Kaizu could finish his words, he immediately I was bet on the cursed doll's hand, and in the end, all that was left was the word buzz buzz. Wu Yuqian was equally surprised, but reason told him that because of this, the crisis faced by the reverse world and the elf world this time required him to be 100% alert. And the patron saint of the dream world, Yang Yu, the crisis that has reversed the world this time seems to be really serious. It's just, why didn't you mention these things before? Wu Yuqian was a little confused. Giratina should tell us about this matter. When I came back from the reverse world, Giratina had not yet contacted Dialga and Palkia. Yang Yu took a deep breath. The tone was, Giratina, he will come to the junction of our elf world and the reverse world, waiting for him to appear. This is also the goodwill that Giratina has always had towards our real world of elves. Turn the world upside down. At the left and right ends of the world, in the extreme left and right corners, two huge figures appeared in the reverse world with an unfriendly aura. The flow of the long river of time led to the appearance of Dialga. Just at the other corner of the world, a sharp look appeared in the air that seemed to be able to cut through the world. Dialga lowered his dull voice and controlled the endless anger under the pressure. Pakia. Even in the corner of the world, the struggle between Dialga and Pakia will not stop here unless an outside force appears. When the space was cut off and one entered the black hole world, a somewhat thin black shadow, like an old monk sitting still, floated in the center world between the two. Space, boundary. You two, this is not a place for fighting. Dark Ray. Pakia will never forget such an elf that irritates it. If given the chance, it will definitely tear this rag-like elf into pieces. Only. Enough. The voice of the world that reversed the world solemnly descended between Dialga and Pakia amid Giratina's groan. The effect of air pressure is comparable to both. Dark Ray, thank you very much, otherwise a large number of elves would have disappeared in the reverse world. Giratina said without anger. Dark Ray put away the dark hole. If there was a head-to-head fight between Pakia and Dialga, he wouldn't have much to do. Fortunately, Lord Giratina arrived in time. I said, this time, it is our union. Your world has been affected by the environmental decay of the ultimate space, isn't it? Dialga and Pakia looked at each other coldly and each hummed. Whether it's your time and space world, or my reverse world, including the dream world of Darkrai and Cresselia, or even the real world of elves over there, unity is our only chance of winning. The balance maintained can no longer be broken or tilted. Are you trying to be quick, and the world of time and space will also be eroded by the power of the ultimate space, or are you joining forces now to restore the original balance of our elf world, Dialga and Pakia? Giratina's calm tone contained a power that made Dialga and Pakia inexplicably frightened. Whatever. Let's settle their accounts later. Now, it's time and space that join forces. More importantly, their worlds also suffer from extremely huge impacts. In this case, let's descend to the sky of the real world of elves together to welcome the human reinforcements from the real world of elves.